In this question, we're working with angles and triangles, but in the question, it actually says there's a parallelogram. But from that parallelogram, we will make triangles, and we'll be able to use what we know from the law of sines or law of cosines to solve it. So the key to this question is we have to draw the parallelogram. And it says determine the measure of the larger angles of the parallelogram. So the first thing we do is we look at this and we say, well, here's our parallelogram. Well, how do we draw it? Well, first of all, these sides that are opposite of each other are the same length. These would be the longer ones, so they're my 18. And then these ones are the shorter sides. They would both be 13. Now this angle would be the same as this angle. And this is the same angle as this angle. That's what parallelograms are. So we first have to draw it. It doesn't have to be a perfect drawing. Notice that one side is 18 and the other side is 13. So I'm making it obviously 18 and 13. So this side is shorter than this side. And that's really all we have to do in this. Once we have it drawn, we can label it. Now there's another thing in here that says that there's a diagonal. So the diagonal is the line that connects the sides, the angles across from each other. So we have a longer one and a short one. So the long one is the green line, and the short diagonal is the blue one. And in this question, it says the shorter diagonal is 15 inches. So that gives us the blue line is 15 inches. We do not know what the green line is, and we don't need to know what it is. So all we're actually looking at is this right here. We have a parallelogram that's being broken into two triangles. The triangles have sides of 13, 15, and 18. So you can solve for any of the angles using the law of cosines, because when we know three sides, we can always find the angles using the law of cosines. So what angle are we looking for? In this question, it said the larger angles of the parallelogram. So these would be the larger angles of the parallelogram. So how do we solve for that? Well, again, we can do it a couple different ways. If the larger angles are, we'd have to find out two things. We have to find out that, and then we have to find out that. So we'd have to do two different things and add them together, and we get our answer. Now, the other thing that we know about parallelograms is that this angle is supplementary with this angle, which means they have to add up to give you 180. So if we find angle A, let's say it ends up being 60 degrees, then automatically means that this angle, the larger angle, would be 120. So the easiest way to do this question is to find out what is this angle, and then from that find out what the larger angle is. So we do that by using the law of cosines. We know all three sides, so we can find out angle A by using the law of cosines. Substitute our values in. It looks like it's about 60. We can do the math. The ratio is 0.5726. Using a calculator, I get A equals 55 degrees. So that is what my A equals. Now, if A equals 55, you're probably already yelling, well, that means that B would equal 180. Subtract 55, and you're right. The larger angle of this parallelogram would be 125 degrees.